Dynamite download.
AEW 2020, John Silver.
Special event, as you can see, SPD.
For a smashing good time. January recruitment.
I come along, I come along in the ring.
I mean, I would not want to hear that. I would not. We got great this year at SPD. Boy, weird.
Excuse me.
If you want to be team heel with your boy Crayfish, all you need to do is get a little
Oh, a little bit of that bubbly in there.
clear your throat with a little tea. Make sure you're loosened up. You don't want to get strained. You got a little tea,
Yeah.
and then you go, "Excuse me."
Oh, deafening.
Thank you.
You're a merch mark over there for sure. And look at that, just fresh off the presses. Speaking of
It could be
merch
Vicky's
mark,
Paul Heyman, bro.
I couldn't wear this because it'd be, I almost wore it under my Young Bucks shirt since Matt Jackson was rocking this shirt on BTE with my danglies. So it would have been counter whatever, because he's totally not a babyface. You got to wear it when you get your heel shirts in, Crayfish.
They're
but
baby faces in their own mind.
They are true. They are baby faces. So
That's the thing. You think about like the way their presentation is, the way these guys are just leaning into just, it feels like they're comfortable, like they're having a good time, and they just don't care. They're able to push the limits. I think the Good Brothers coming into the Elite really allowed it to say, like, no matter what the Young Bucks do, at least they're not talking about wanking off and stuff. So I mean, it's allowed.
bad.
Yeah. So it's allowed the Elite to kind of just be themselves, the Young Bucks to laugh, have fun. They're dominating the tag division. I mean, they aren't facing Santana Ortiz or FTR.
Yeah, those guys are in the rankings though.
But they absolutely are. It'll be interesting to see the next chapter for the Bucks, man. I mean, I know you are definitely in on the Team Danglies over there. Are you loving this version of the Bucks? Is this the best version of them throughout AEW for you? Because I think it's the best they've ever been in AEW. I think, and that's Team Heel.
That is Team Heel. I mean,
I think that they're the best they've
easy
been.
to come from you.
Well,
I mean, yes, I'm seeing the light for sure. I'm loving. They don't need. It's fun to see this side of them because they don't need to do all the showmanship, the douchebagness and stuff, because they're so talented in the ring. Right. And they put on 5-star matches every single time. And I've proposed the question before: name a bad Young Bucks match we've seen in AEW, and there hasn't been one. And that's a lot. That says a lot about anybody, let alone a team. Because it takes 4 people to click versus 2 or even 1 really to steal the show. But there hasn't been a bad Young Bucks match, and so this side of them is whole nother landscape layer of them that I'm absolutely loving. And to say it's the best we've seen, I mean, in the ring they're still performing. They've always been at the top of their game, but in terms of character work, this is definitely the most challenging and in-depth that they've ever had in AEW to date. Yes, so I'm excited. What do you think, Bonds?
Oh, they're at the top of their game right now. Young Bucks are awesome. They're hilarious. They're best tag team in the ring right now too, as well, consistently. They open the show for a reason. A lot of the time, it's not because they're the vice presidents. It's because they're awesome at what they do, and they set the tone. And
EVP coming through.
Yeah.
Set the bar so high, right?
I can't believe they won so many titles before they were EVPs, because apparently that's the only reason they're the champs. But I think that they're pretty good either way. I don't know. A lot of people are kind of weird about the Young Bucks, but that's all right.
Well,
they don't have to like good wrestling.
And that's one of the funny things you said at one point in one of your columns. And I remember laughing when I saw the line. You know, if you don't see what the Young Bucks are doing, if you don't think the Young Bucks are good storytellers, then you have something wrong with you. Basically,
Yeah.
I mean, in kinder terms than Bonds. I mean, Bonds went all in. You know, the Bucks get criticized for not having ring psychology, and I think that this whole storyline, they're playing the fans left and right. They're just trolling everybody. It's the best. I crack up every time they're on screen. Bonds, one of the funny comments that came up in the chat. One of the things I always love hearing you rant about. What's going to be the latest? With the saga of the referees and the cold spray.
Gosh, the cold spray is so ridiculous.
Is that going to come out in tonight's match?
Are we going to see 12 more minutes of handicap matches?
Here's a bet for Dynamite Download. All right, guys.
A spray tan bet?
Who gets the cold spray from Brandon Cutler tonight in that trios match?
Ooh.
It's got to be Pac because I think
coming out strong.
You cold spray the most lethal person. You try to cold spray and take down someone who's the biggest threat. That's why you always cheat. You always want to cheat to the biggest threat. So I know Eddie, there won't be any crowds tonight as it's not a live show, but Eddie is really over with the crowds. That would have been the only, advantage to him getting a cold spray. But I think you're going to see Pac get a cold spray again. But ultimately, I think that Pac and Eddie and Penta get the win here. It's easy to get a pin on, Cutler lost the pin again, and Young Bucks were kind of teasing that online, like, don't mess this up. So I think it'll add that extra layer of something. Or it can go total reverse where the Young Bucks cheat and then get Cutler the pin or something like that. Give him the win.
And he gets the win. They get the cold spray.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. I think probably Pac too. But again, they need to start wearing goggles to the ring.
I think it's Eddie Kingston, man. I think it's like just the way that Eddie's been booked. I feel like he's the guy who's going to get it to the eyes. But hey, man, if they went after the Bastard that way, can you imagine how angry that's going to make him if they end up getting him like that way? It would only add fuel to the fire. It feels like Pac's been getting screwed left and right. Don Callis did that to him. I feel like, at Double or Nothing, he got hit in the head. How many times? 5 times. But Kenny the Collector has 4, right?
4 belts, every belt.
4 belts. 4 belts.
He didn't get any doubles, did he?
No, he got 4 different world championships, Kenny Omega, the belt collector. And that's what it takes to take down the Bastard. So, hey, it was respect to Pac, but at the same time, it feels like my man is getting screwed left and right. And SPD, if this ends up playing a role in tonight's match, it would only add fuel to that fire. Booking by SPD, I really like that call.
Booking by SPD. I'm not on that level. I'm not on the Bonds level.
You've had some great predictions in your AEW history. So give yourself some credit, bro. Come on.
So thank you. Speaking of another prediction, I kind of you said it best on Twitter was Darby Allin picking his partner, and Lance Archer seems like an ultimate. I almost didn't even think of that. Honestly, I was going more the Dark Order route. Yeah. But Lance Archer made so much sense after the kind of scare away, help Sting, help Darby, get in the face of Ethan Page, Scorpio Sky. So Darby and Archer on a team really would be quite an interesting combo that would really complement each other in different ways for sure. Maybe you see Archer kind of use Darby, if this is the case, as a weapon in a sense, like
launching him
into both of them, since Darby likes to be launched, excessively like a missile. But other than looking at this card for matches, which match are you guys most looking forward to, Bonds? Which one is really sticking out? I know there's a lot of guys on this card that are featured, and I'm really curious about yours because you're a huge Miro mark, Christian Cage mark, obviously Team Taz mark.
Oh man,
you're just the
AEW
mark, bro.
This is a booking by Bonds
episode. Awesome.
This is a Team Taz booking by Bonds dream.
Man,
and Team Taz is where I'm going to go with the match I'm most excited about, just because if you guys read my column from last week, I did my booking by Bonds about Brian Cage, and Will Hobbs was very prominent in that. And I think that if they're going the direction I think that they could go with how I was predicting it. It'd make for some awesome television. And we'll see that tonight, because if stuff happens in this match where they don't win, there's going to be an implosion. I think it's at that level where Brian Cage seems pretty much done. Ricky Starks bailed on the promo last week, and Will Hobbs looks completely tuned out. So it seems like there's a lot of stuff going on in the background in that match.
Yeah, and I think that, when you look at the landscape of AEW, with what we're talking about, changing the landscape, Chris brings up a point. How long has it felt like Team Taz? Let's rip the Band-Aid off already, guys.
Yeah,
and let's start making some things happen with Team Taz. AEW needs it right now, my opinion.
Yeah.
I feel like AEW needs some of that, like freshen some things up. You're keeping the belts on the Elite, which is cool. I think they're doing great work. The DMD getting the title, which is, it can't be an episode of Dynamite Download. Now I got that check mark. Brought up DMD in the first half an hour of the show. Perfect. No, but you did do some changes. Miro is a nice fresh face. Two things I'll comment on. First, I think changing the landscape. I think Bond's commenting on your top pick of the night. I think that I'm really excited to see where this goes. I think that this story has an opportunity to really move to the front and center a little bit on television. I think there's a lot of drama, a lot of intrigue as to what could happen if you unleash a babyface version of Brian Cage. It would be an all new, amazing opportunity to see. Then maybe him get an opportunity against Kenny, which would be great. I think that could be really exciting. And then, SPD, you mentioned my Lance Archer pick. Lance Archer made so much sense to me there. I know that they're advertised as separate segments, and I think you point out the obvious. Dark Order has been very involved in this match. But you look at the landscape of tonight's show, you have 10. You look at the landscape of tonight's show, you have 10 and Hangman already booked, right?
Yeah.
Evil Uno is already booked. So then you're like, okay, like is Colt Cabana or, like
Johnny Hungy?
Johnny Hungy, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Johnny Hungy would be a lot of fun if that was his pick. And imagine those two guys together in the ring. And
Johnny Hungy and Darby had a killer match.
They had a great, their match was awesome back.
That would be sweet.
There's a lot of intrigue,
I picked Lance. Though, because I felt like after Double or Nothing, it feels like this guy needs some massive. He needs some fire. Like this guy needs to come out and make a difference. And think about if he's the guy who saves, stands tall next to Darby, who's one of your hottest characters in AEW.
Right.
And you have him. It makes sense with the way Sting and Lance. It felt like Sting was talking on Lance's wavelength when he was getting through to Lance a little bit. And this could play maybe like, does Sting eventually pull him away from the snake? It could be some interesting stories. And I just think that this would be a great way to get Lance, push him right back on the mainstay, keep us fresh, keep us excited about Lance Archer after what happened at Double or Nothing. We all agree here at Dynamite Download, the Miro versus Lance Archer match. Amazing to see King Kong versus Godzilla, King Kong versus Godzilla in that regard. But it's nice to keep Lance. You don't want Lance to be punished for losing that match. And if in the eyes of fans, if you don't give him something hot, if you don't give him something fresh, something that really gets him in going strong again, you run the risk of losing Lance Archer a little bit. You run the risk of him looking weak, and you don't want a guy like him weak because honestly, Lance is one of the biggest guys on the roster. You need to protect your big men. Griff Garrison knows that. I mean, he and I, when we talked about the interview, that was the lesson that Lance told him is you're a big man. You need to act like a big man and be protected like a big man. I think that they need to push Lance Archer. And if he's not involved in that match, he needs to have an emphatic moment tonight. Those are some of my thoughts coming out of Double or Nothing going into tonight's show. What match you said, Bonds, you talked about your match that you're most excited about. I feel like, MJF is pretty short with his words on social media, but he made it known that he has something to say tonight. What do you think is going to happen when MJF gets in the on the mic? And honestly, what else happens in this announcement? Because I heard on Twitter today that Wardlow, the War Dog, is going to respond to Jake Hager for his MMA challenge. So War Dog promised it, and the War Dog always delivers. So you're going to hear that tonight. You're going to hear MJF on the stick. What happens post Double or Nothing from the Pinnacle?
Oh man, well you have to see like a big response from MJF, because they got embarrassed at Double or Nothing, frankly. Sean Spears got just smoked by Sammy towards the end. MJF really, I think he got pretty whooped on by Jericho throughout the match, even though Jericho was injured. So Jericho had a fire lit under him, and I think you have to see a similar fire lit under MJF tonight. And I fully expect Wardlow to accept that challenge too. That match is way too awesome and potentially entertaining for them not to do it. That would just be such a disappointment if he said no. That has to happen. And I think that's main event. When that happens, that'll be the main event of the Dynamite it's on for sure. It has to be.
I want to hear a booking by Bonds on you and that, how that's booked, because I was there live to watch Wardlow and Hager go head to head when they're all together, and it was an awesome match. But to book a MMA fight without looking like a shoot and acting like a shoot, I'm curious of your thoughts on it. I don't know, maybe you can let that digest, or if you have some thoughts on the top of your head, like how could you book that? But yes, 100% that is a main event. This is where we start to branch out, I think, and get those 1-on-1s, 2-on-2 sub feuds that we've been salivating for so heavily. But I'm very curious how you would book it, Bonds.
I think I would book it as a tie, frankly. I want to see those two big guys go ham. No, nobody gets knocked out. It goes the distance. And then I want to hear, I want them to have judges, like a boxing match almost, and kind of give them both hey man, you guys both did it. And then kind of starts a brawl towards the end with both teams. Something like that, where you kind of get those two guys, you keep them on even playing field, because I think that's important. I think that you have to have those two big men. You can't make one of them look more intimidating than the other right now.
That's tough, bud.
It is
real tough, man.
Because
tough. And but you know that Tony and AEW don't like to play that game. And,
I know that.
And I think that if you're gonna have Wardlow already
MMA match though, you can change it.
Well, that's my point. That's my point is Wardlow. Wardlow already got the first win. SPD was there for it. And then Hager, you got to say that dude's undefeated still in MMA.
Yeah.
So
you can have
his territory.
Maybe this is where he gets his. He gets And if Wardlow, gets some nice moves in, then
it's not going to look bad on him.
He's going to look great, and I think that then you allow the inner circle to get another big win. I feel like that would be a smart move personally.
You're probably right. Yeah.
I want to transition to the next topic before we get into later on. We have a lot of other things that we want to discuss tonight, guys.
And quickly approaching, Dynamite is in just under 40 minutes, so we can't wait for another an annoying Friday night Dynamite, which we can't wait to get back to regular scheduled programming. But we're making some transitions. Thank you for joining us. For our pre-show, we're not doing a watch along this week. We want to focus on the show, and we're going to do a whole recap show like we usually do and piece it up into little clips. But if you are up early with us, 9 a.m. live on our YouTube channel will be our recap show. Grab that Dynamite download mug, fill it with a nice cup of Joe, maybe a little Bailey's in there. It is the weekend after all. So kick things off, with us tomorrow morning as we recap an awesome Dynamite ahead of us. But yes, as you were saying, Crayfish, what topic did you want to discuss next?
Well, I think that the last thing that we need to address is I didn't hear Bonds' take on the Miro versus Evil Uno match. And I think that, as a Miro mark, I would just love to hear Bonds maybe just tease tease the fans that stuck with us. Yeah. What do you think happens in this main event? Miro and Evil Uno have
this the main event?
Well, maybe not the TNT.
The title match. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be the main event personally, but
the only title match.
Yeah, it's a TNT title. I think that makes sense. But what are your thoughts, Miro? Is it a dominant match? I mean, these guys have cut some really in amazing promos on social media. Tell me about it.
So I think that it's going to be one of those matches where it starts off kind of even early, and then you kind of get to see Miro's stamina and strength outlast. I think that's kind of been his thing lately, where he hasn't been like just completely dominant in his matches, right? Where he's even against Darby, where Darby's a lot smaller than him. Darby got in some offense on Miro, and it wasn't just a sure, clean cut, like quick win. It was a tough match, and he won, but he had to have some help, and it took a little while. And so I think that Evil Uno is a guy that a lot of people respect. I think that Dark Order is going to have a good night. Frankly, they're involved in a lot of stuff tonight, and I think he's going to show off some stuff, some offense early, because I love watching his matches. But then Miro is going to just kind of take control, and that's what he needs to do. That makes sense logically. That makes sense to what he's been doing, his character. Yeah, I think that it's just that's kind of how they're going to be booking him for the foreseeable future, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think, whenever we see the Dark Order, I'm impressed. I mean, I think Stu Grayson, and SPD and I have talked a lot about this. Evil Uno is really good in the ring, guys.
Yeah,
this guy can go, man.
He's
this
really
dude
fun
can
to watch.
go. And
100%.
when you see Evil Uno versus Miro, I think, like you said, I think there's going to be some fun offense to start this match off, and you're going to see Evil Uno give it everything he has. But I agree with Bonds. In the end, I think Miro has game over for Evil Uno tonight, and it ends up making him pass out. Maybe if we had a visual of him passing out like this.
That'll be the thumbnail for the column this week.
That would be fantastic, dude. That would be.
I always try to find the funniest pictures.
Let's do it, Bonds. Your pictures are always clutch for your columns. All right, guys. Well, we're really excited about this one.
Thank you everyone for joining us. I see more people are joining us. We're doing our pre-show. If you guys are just joining us, talking all things Dynamite. Yeah, we're talking Miro, and we're going to be doing our live show tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. If you're not up with us, it'll be live on our YouTube channel. You can rewatch it immediately afterwards, but we appreciate you guys stopping by and saying hi before we kick off an awesome Dynamite. And, we're in the chat talking kind of about, like, run of show. Like, you brought up main event, like, Sharonica brought a good thing. Young Bucks, I think. Young Bucks versus – there's got to be – like a main event always got to have some cliffhangers.
I know, but you start off a Dynamite.
Hangman always starts it off, and it always works so well.
So do the Bucks, man. Why would you –
So what would you pick?
That's a good
Hangman
point,
and 10 versus Team Taz, or the Bucks and the Death quarter angle?
Quad, yeah.
Bonds, I'll let you start, man.
I would start off with Hangman 10 and Team Taz, frankly, because I want to see what happens with Team Taz later in the show. I don't want that to be like the ending match. I want to see what happens throughout the night. That's an intriguing storyline. Of course, I'm going to pick what I want to pick, man.
I love it. That's
great.
What I
mean? I would like
you are the Team Taz mark here. That's what I love about you.
I wouldn't hate if they threw a curveball out there and started with the Pinnacle. I know that they usually start with matches. But I would love to see them kind of come out and be like, hey, we were on Dynamite last week, but we're here now, and we're gonna make their like lives living hell this week, kind of thing. Kind of set the tone early. Maybe not even have it a huge segment, maybe be 5-minute segment, and then have the first match after Pinnacle opens the show. I know they never open up on promo, but that would be an interesting way to do it and change maybe a little curveball in there for everybody.
You could even go a Christian Cage start. Like, he's been kicking things off, and then that could still further. I mean, a lot of stuff with Cage. I mean, Cage is still kind of tied up with very little bit with Hobbs, but it seems more HFO stuff. But yeah, you can give the people what they want with an Angelico opening. That would be great, man. I mean, you got Mitch ready back there for you. But it's really hard. It's really hard to predict. That's what the fun part is. It's like 2 hours. Like, yes, it's short and fast, but it's going to be a jam-packed 2 hours and all that. Let's talk about it, because a lot of people in the chat are talking about Layla Hirsch. We're not trying to downplay any this women's match, because we have the ex-champ versus Layla Hirsch,
which is a big match, guys.
I think
it's a big match.
We have discussed that on our show a lot. Of if there was a female in Team Taz, Layla would be perfect, because she is kind of like the human female suplex machine, and she's got that kind of like stocky Taz, and she has someone that can be her mouthpiece like Taz, and can just kind of like show up and work essentially. So I think her recent match, I think it was with maybe Penelope Ford or something, where she was like jumping off the top rope or something crazy. I thought it was the best I've seen her, and I think she's consistently growing in the ring, and it's fun to see her, and congrats to her being all elite as well, pretty recent. So it'd be interesting booking. It's going to tie in somehow to DMD because obviously Nyla interrupted her celebration and her Big Macs got spilled all over the ground and they couldn't enjoy them. So there might be some Big Mac revenge,
I hope so. I hope so.
Drop the 1,500 Big Macs onto the ring tonight.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Shove one in Nyla's mouth and get her distracted.
They're going to have a Big Mac Mayhem match.
Yeah.
That would be most of Mayhem.
There you go. I like the idea. This is two top 5 competitors going against each other tonight, guys. So that's a really cool match. And I think that like the story, we were commenting on the AEW's post about this match, was just like, my thoughts are just the story of this match is going to be, I talked about it. Nyla is the gatekeeper of the women's division. You get past her, if you prove that you can get past her, she's like the Goro, right? She's like that. Like if you can get past her, then you are legit. You are what you say you are. And it's very fitting. Legit Layla is going to prove how legit she is tonight. If you can hang with Nyla, and seriously, that visual of Nyla, the native beast, against legit Layla, who is, let's be honest, call a spade a spade. It's going to be a David versus Goliath matchup tonight.
Sure.
And I think that if you're going to see legit Layla be able to suplex the native beast, that visual alone is going to be a huge moment in legit Layla's career. Honestly, that's going to be a big moment for her. If she just has that ability to toss the native beast at some point, imagine that, like the pop that she would get too. That is fantastic. I think that she's going to have a heck of a showing tonight. I think that it's going to be fun, but I think, the trajectory of this match, it's building towards the DMD versus the native beast. That's going to be really interesting. Does this further push the Britt Baker face, turn where, you feel bad for Britt going against this beast? I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting how that plays out.
Right.
You could tell, if you're Nyla, you got to look at the women's division and say, I'm not letting this pass me by. And I'm certainly not letting this egomaniac talk about how she's the face of the division, she's the champ, and no one else matters. Nyla is, you get it. Like SPD, you said it. She's an OG. She's, second. She's a dominant women's champion. She has those. She has that kind of pedigree. And to challenge Britt, it's a visual that's going to challenge the DMD guys. Nyla versus Britt, that's a very tough matchup for the role model.
We saw it recently, in the tournament, and it was a great match.
It was. Who won?
Nyla.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. And
so
as a DMD fanboy, that's worrisome, guys. That's a bummer, man. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
She's gonna get that loss off the record.
I'm rooting for Layla to win somehow. Come on. Rebel and DMD need to get involved. Rebel needs to hit Nyla with the crutch.
Sure.
Layla gets the win, and then it's DMD versus legit Layla. I'm way more happy with that match.
All right. Well, now that we talked about that, because I know the chat was buzzing, the biggest news, we talked about and posted with, the biggest pop was Andrade that not a lot of us saw coming. So now that he's made his debut here in AEW, where do you see him going to start his instant feud? I know he's got a match in AAA with Kenny Omega in August, I think it is, and so that's still a little ways away.
Mm-hmm.
But do you see a different feud starting with him before essentially maybe going with Kenny? I mean, obviously, Vicky is Nyla and Vicky going baby face? Essentially, or is it going to be heel versus heel when you go Nyla and Britt? Obviously, Britt's going to be moving towards baby, but Andrade as a heel, just based on his look and his attitude, and Kenny almost the same way in the suits and the boots and the belts and the swagger.
I think it's just
where do you see Andrade?
It's just two superstars.
Who do you want to Andrade to feud with other than Kenny Omega? Who do you see him feuding with? Like, what do you see his near future?
Yeah, I think that like right now with that match so close on the horizon,
Mhm.
You don't need to have Andrade feud with anybody. It's
Okay.
he comes in. That dude has the swagger. He knows that he's a legit world superstar. He walks it. He talks it. And guys, he can get it done in the ring. You could tell he's got that swagger. Kenny Omega's championship reign has it's been about him having that swagger. You just talked about it. His boots. How ridiculous have his outfits been? He's really celebrating himself a lot, and Andrade is not going to bow down to anybody. You could tell he's not going to say like you're better than me.
Mhm.
So it's another guy just like my guy Pac. And I think the Jungle Boy is developing into a guy who you could tell that kid's not going to admit that he can't hang with anybody because he can. So why back down from anybody? I think that's going to be the story of Jungle Boy going forward. The more people that you present as peers, as equals to Kenny Omega at this stage, the better. Because as AEW is rolling out, gaining another show, and as their roster starts to continue to gain, I think, depth, it's important for you to start to establish people who could eventually take over as a believable world champion. We all know that Hangman is on the cusp of that. I think that Pac is, hey, come on, Pac's right there. I think Miro, if he gets this run with the TNT Championship, I think he's showing a lot more charisma than people thought he would.
Mhm.
His interviews with TNT, his interactions with the NBA, very funny. He's a hilarious, funny guy. His promos on social media are fantastic. But it's important that AEW, I think that they're smart businessmen. Why just have one top guy when you could start to build 6? Why not? I see this argument on social media all the time that their roster has too much talent. Like, since when is that a problem? Like, since when is that a bad thing to have a lot of guys who are really good? I don't get that. I mean, we talk about the best era of wrestling. It was when we had The Rock, Austin, you had all these, you had all these superstars, HBK, Bret Hart, different eras where people could just be top guys. Undertaker was going on during this time. Ric Flair. We talked about our Mount Rushmore. Think about the names, and it's not just about them being great at their own. Every time I watch a documentary, every time I watch these shows, they recognize iron sharpens iron, guys.
Mhm.
That's a motto we talk about. And you don't have these superstars get over unless they have peers who make them feel special. And I think that the more you do that, the better AEW is going to be. I think that AEW is really building something where they are sustainable and healthy, guys. I think that they're in it for the long haul.
It's exciting because they have no foot off. The pedal is pushed down and it's pushing farther and farther and farther because it's fun to have no salary cap essentially. Like in sports, you got to kind of pick and choose. And there's rumors rumbling around of Aleister Black, Tommy N.
There's a lot of rumors
unofficially signing.
WWE wants him back, right?
I know that would be ridiculous, but
they fired him just to bring him back. That's like
I would say F you.
Well, Bonsley, you think about this, dude. You're a football guy. How often do teams cut guys, let them test the market, and then you want to come back or do you want to go to the competition?
Well,
that happens all the time.
Players don't have a 90-day non-compete clause.
True.
That's a good point.
So speaking of,
that's a big difference.
I want to know, back
difference.
to the question at hand, both of you guys, other than Kenny Omega, what are one or two singles matches that you're really excited for Andrade to have here in AEW?
Well, I'll start. I'd love to see him wrestle Christian. Christian gets good matches out of everybody.
Outwork everyone.
That whole outwork everybody attitude.
Put everyone over.
Yeah, put everyone over, exactly. Just put everybody on his back. Just do whatever you can. And I think that would be a cool match. Those two big 2021 signings. Also, like if Mark Henry's actually going to be in the ring at all, I would like to see that because his intro was interrupted by Andrade's debut.
Booking by Bonds.
And that would be fun just to see, like, hey, man, like, get these two WWE guys in the ring together, have some fun. Kind of obviously put Andrade over on him. Yeah, that's how you can even
Great.
start a mini feud leading up to the Kenny stuff.
Okay.
I'd love
Crayfish,
that. I
two
love that
guys,
idea.
one or two guys you want to see in the ring?
Well, what do you think my first answer is?
Britt Baker.
No. Pac. Pac versus Andrade. You know,
No, that would be a banger match. Those guys
both
like
the-
Styles clash.
Oh, right? Yeah. I mean, and their history dating back to NXT, they both can talk about, I mean, to me, Pac was a dominant like NXT champion. One of my favorites, and that's where like I felt like that I started to really start to respect his craft. Andrade, the character change he went through on NXT, the maturation of him as a superstar who went from like this guy who knew he was the shit and didn't try to eventually getting Selena Vega, getting a fire lit under him, and just becoming El Idolo, the guy who is the man. And he walks the walk. He's dating the queen. He's living the life, he's killing it. And you could tell he's killing it. So I think you put Andrade against Pac, who, both guys could kill it in the ring. Like you talked about, two totally different styles. Andrade can kind of play it cool. Can you imagine if he laughed in Pac's face, if Pac was cutting an intense promo and he just smiled and laughed, I think that would those two, there's like fire and ice. Pac is this fiery, angry bastard, and ice cool machismo of Andrade. That'd be really cool. And then the other one, I think on the landscape, I think that he could have an amazing match with, and this is got Jungle Boy. I think the Jungle Boy is so much fun. I want to see that guy tested. I want to see him go into a match with Andrade and watch Jungle Boy and Andrade figure each other out. And I just think that match could be very smooth. Fun. You know what I mean? Just very smooth and polished. Those two guys just are very fluid. I really respect how fluid JB is right now at this stage of his career, dude. Like he makes things look very effortless. And Andrade is the same kind of cat, dude. Like everything is crisp. Everything, that's why I love Pac. Like everything is super crisp. Everything is super precise. Andrade, when he's at his best, he can do the same thing. So I would love to see him against those two guys.
Yeah, and for me, obviously anyone of the Death Triangle, Penta and Ray, Penta and Ray for sure. We got about 15 minutes left of the show.
Oh, I'll wait. Yeah, it's just tea, guys.
It's just tea. Just spilling the tea.
Yep.
Stirring the tea.
Stir it up.
I would say
Wrestler of the Week.
Ray Phoenix versus Andrade. And Sammy Guevara versus him. I think that would be a good one as well.
Spanish gods.
Honestly, maybe a wild card would be like Brian Cage. Once Cage goes face, I think that would be.
You think that.
So those are the ones. I mean, the possibilities are endless, and
when you have a talent like Andrade,
for sure,
every match is going to be a good opportunity. Really, when you put any of the top guys in AEW against Andrade, he's one of those types of guys who's just he's like a bishop where you can just do. He's all over the place. I love that. I love his style works, and we're going to interview Danny Limelight, and I think that's another guy who, again, a Swiss Army knife mentality as a performer. You could put him in the ring with anybody and they're going to have a good matchup, and that's what I love about Andrade. Those are my favorite types of wrestlers, when you could be diverse. And Bonds, you and I talk a lot about this about football. The best football teams are ones that can adapt. And the same applies in fighting. If you can adapt your style to your opponent and find a way to change what you do to make sure that you counter theirs, that's what makes you separated from the pack. I love those performers that can just be diverse and work with anybody. And Andrade is going to be one of them. Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's what Thunder said when we interviewed her about her approach. Her approach to different matches. We talked to her a few months back and
do the work.
The homework. You got to do the homework. But personally, I'll be the first to admit, I have not. I loved that as a Swiss Army knife. Lori brought it up that you kept saying that as Limelight. Mm-hmm. That's a really cool thing to say. I think definitely bring that up on Monday. But I did not watch Andrade in WWE that much. I was not for his gimmick. I was not a fan. I thought it was just kind of like I'm waiting. I'm ready to be proved wrong because I
Yeah.
trust you guys and I trust the AEW universe. And
do I
he
ever
looks like
let
$1
you
million
down?
bucks.
What do I ever let you down? Like, do I though? I mean, like, every
Yes,
time I
but I
tell you
won't.
there's
No.
wow.
You've
You
you
always
got me
come
on
around. You
FTR,
always come
Santana
around to my picks.
Ortiz, the Acclaimed. But I hate to even say this, but I was kind of bored with his mid card poor booking with Andrade in WWE. So
Yeah, agreed.
to spread his wings and fly, I'm really excited to see this. So
Did
This
you
is where
see his run? Did you
superstars come to
see?
spread their wings, though.
And you didn't see his run in NXT, right?
no, I never was in
Right,
NXT like you
and
were.
so
You're a huge NXT fan.
right. So that's I think the big difference is like you
Right.
didn't get to see Andrade presented. His story in NXT basically was that he came in as a huge signing as an international superstar.
Okay.
And he knew he was the man, and he was always out partying. He was enjoying the nightlife. He wasn't taking his career seriously because he already knew, like, I can do this. This is too easy for me. And he started to lose. And then Selena Vega, Thea Trinidad, came in and kind of refocused him, told him to wake up, get his shit together, and show the world who he really is. And then he became NXT champion. And that story arc was so awesome to watch because he went from like a sloppy in-ring worker who was kind of lazy. And I think it was on purpose. Now that I look at the story, like he was like, and to a guy who became absolutely, he showed me this is one of the top performers in the ring, just pure skill on this level right now in North American wrestling. He is that good. He will absolutely be able to hang with the best of the best, and you'll see it. I think you're going to be very impressed by what Andrade is able to deliver to AEW. I hate to overhype him, but I think that he's a guy who they will present him the right way. I have confidence AEW will, and I really think that you'll see. This is a guy who, when I talk about Pac, when you talk about Kenny Omega, when you talk about these top tier guys in the world, he is that good.
I can't wait, man. It's the great addition, and his style fits AEW's style so much right now. And that's one thing we were kind of talking about, like, of the release of the WWE, like the styles that would fit in here. And obviously Braun Strowman was like obviously the biggest name released. But we all agree, that his style doesn't fit. So that big man, come in and shoulder tackle everyone. I liked him a lot in WWE, and it fit because of that roster, the way that roster is booked. This roster in AEW, it's like, almost in any given Sunday, any given match, someone could take it from someone, and mesh well so together. So, I mean, we don't need to talk too much about that, but like,
Braun,
Andrade is a great addition. Tommy End is going to be a great addition when that happens. Even like I said, my picks for the two to add were Ruby Riott and Tommy End, and so. And you said Buddy Murphy, which also would be another one that would fit so well here. So,
and then I'd want to see Buddy Murphy versus Andrade versus Pac versus Kenny. I'd want a four-way match. I would want some sort of that would be amazing. I think that Braun fits best in Impact. I think I watch enough Impact to see Braun would be a big deal there, and I think that you could build him to go against Cassidy, Big Kaz. And,
that would work.
And I think that if you could use that to put over Big Cass, I think that would be a really Morrissey. I think that if you can put him over, that would be a really fun way to book Braun. Have him come in. He's getting $20,000 appearance. Maybe give him a couple big appearances, and then put over Morrissey and have that be the case. But Braun feels like a WWE guy. He feels like that's his place, and that's the land of the giants. I just don't think that he fits in AEW.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I completely agree, and it's a bummer. And I think he's fine. He shaved off the beard. He's little, he's done some great work and some great character art.
He embraced being bald. I liked he's keeping it tight. I like that.
So as we're gonna end the show just a few minutes before so we can all get set up and get our TVs dialed into TNT and make sure we're prepped for those Venus commercials versus those Venus Gillette razors commercials.
Yeah,
so we're about 15 minutes. 15 minutes
Just Wednesdays,
until
man.
showtime.
I'm missing them.
I
But
miss them now. Yeah.
so with we talked about the matches. I'm curious, real
Talk
quick.
about every match. Good job, guys.
Real quick about my favorite topic, Pinnacle and Inner Circle. Once we see this MMA style, do you think we're going to start seeing more special stipulation matches between the sub feuds? Like, are we going to have like a bar fight between the FTR and Santana Ortiz because of the same Stadium Stampede?
Oh, now that would be
or
fun.
something like a backyard brawl because you see them brawling so much, two different styles. Listening to Talk is Jericho, the behind the scenes of Stadium Stampede 2, which I highly recommend. It was very interesting and really fun to see, when he pulls back the curtain. He had all the whole Inner Circle on there, so they're telling their stories too. So how Sammy got a black eye because the handcuffs broke and hit him in the face. And they were like, Spears, man, I thought we were all bros. Like, and they thought Spears did it. And so it was – I think – do you see that happening? I think that would be a nice twist to it to have kind of got this MMA one coming up. Do you have like I said, like a backyard brawl, or do you have like a TLC match with Spears, the chairman, and Sammy? And then what do you do for like Jericho? What do you guys think?
No, I think that is a really great call. I think that they're like, here's how I would book it. I would think the FTR and Santana Ortiz, you put those in a bar, like a bar fight. That way, if FTR loses that match, which I think that they might lose that one, how I would book it, even that's an FTR fanboy, then you protect the best wrestling tag team.
Sure.
And you allow the street fighters, the backyard, like Santana Ortiz, that nasty attitude, come up and win that one, right?
Right.
You have Hager win against
Protect Wardlow.
Well, man,
So here's the thing. Inner Circle is so top right now. How do you have any of those guys lose?
That they're not going to, the way I book it, right?
Yeah.
So you have Hager beats
Inner Circle
Wardlow.
Mark, baby.
You have Hager, and this is me being the heel guy too, and I see that this would be beautiful, right? So you have Spears versus Sammy, and like maybe you
Sammy's
said,
riding so high right now.
TLC match would be great, right? You have the chairman and the ladder from Sammy, that would be great. Then you have the MMA match where I think Jake wins, and on his turf he beats War Dog. You have Santana Ortiz beat FTR in a bar fight. And then you have Jericho beat MJF in an I Quit match. And imagine the visual. Imagine the visual of Jericho making that squirmy bastard MJF quit. Like, that would be the ultimate I comeuppance, I think. And then because you look at like how MJF did him dirty at the end of Blood and Guts. For the ultimate comeback for Jericho, put him on the lion tamer and not let go until he just cries like a little baby. I would love it. And then you have a clean sweep for the Inner Circle. And then you start to have these guys who are always on top looking around and saying, uh-oh, like, what, guys, we all lost. And then maybe they start turning on each other, or maybe then it maybe, like, I don't, maybe they give up. Maybe they walk away from the Inner Circle.
Wow.
But I think that would be a heck of a way to book it, SPD. I agree with you, you Inner Circle Mark. I think that is the way to go right now based off of what I'm seeing, the wave of this fight. I don't think it would be unprecedented. I think that, like, MJF to this point is 2-0 against Jericho. So, you got to, like, maybe that, that evens it up basically, right? Like, in a one-on-one opportunity, now it goes, you give Jericho a win at least. You can't, if you have MJF go 3-0, poor math by me, but if you have MJF go 3-0 against Jericho, that can't happen, man. That cannot happen.
Even for the biggest rising heel in the industry, I mean,
yeah,
it's going to be fun regardless.
Right now,
are they ever?
All the rage.
Fonz, how would you do it? You hear us, Bonds?
I've lost the connection again,
There you
but
go.
sorry. How would you book the?
I can't tell. Yeah, I
talking
keep
about
losing my
like,
Wi-Fi. It's awesome.
It's all right, man. Between
okay,
the Inner
buddy.
Circle and
Don't
Pinnacle,
worry.
if they're doing these
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, I heard
Okay, so
90%
what's your
of it
reaction?
actually started going. That was
perfect.
basically all I heard at the end, but it is great.
Go ahead, bud.
So I'm kind of in lockstep with you. Or I think that the Inner Circle needs to get some wins. I would love to
Mhm.
see some cool, like, other than just the MMA match, I'd love to see some cool, like, unique matches between these guys. But I don't necessarily think that Jericho needs to go over at MJF. If they want to keep it going, depends on how long they want this feud to go. If they want it to
Sure.
go for a long time, I think then you maybe have MJF maybe pull something else on Jericho again. Have it like continue where he just keep doing these dirty
Okay, that's a good
tactics to
point.
win, and like
Wow, Bonds.
maybe then you just even escalate it again and have it go to another pay-per-view at some point. Something like that, even to where you have this last for months. I would
I
love
like
to
that,
see
'cause
this
it would-
go on forever. Yeah, just keep dragging it out and keep, just have it go on, because it, like, again, this is one of my favorite feuds in the company right now. The elite stuff is kind of, I love the elite stuff, but it doesn't
Sure.
seem very focused at times. There's a lot of people involved, where this is like the only focused feud we have right now out of the
That's a good
whole
point.
of everything, really. Like, because Britt's really not feuding with anybody yet. I wouldn't consider the Nyla thing, that's just starting. Miro just won the belt. He's not feuding with anybody. Kenny, just won another match, and the Jungle Boy stuff isn't a feud. It's just, it's just a match. And again, like the elite have a huge group of guys they're kind of feuding with. So having
Right.
Inner Circle and Pinnacle as your mainstay
It helps center
like,
the show.
feud,
You're right.
yeah, it gives
Good
you
point.
something to focus on every week, and a
point.
storyline you can kind of like be like, oh well, this is definitely what we're gonna get.
Stretch it
And
out.
yeah, having that long-term thing, especially when you have these two stables that have a lot of talent in both,
Mhm.
and are some of the future of the company. Like we all agree that MJF is the heel for AEW forever. Like, he's going to be the guy that's going to be in this company for 20 years. It's going to be like their version of like Edge, Jericho, like when Jericho was a heel. A lot of that stuff. He's just going to be that jerk the whole time. It's going to be awesome. Whoever ends up being like their top star face, whether it's Kenny or somebody else long term, he's always going to kind of be that foil, and he's going to be a future world champion. So
Mhm.
having him maybe not put Jericho over and have everybody else go over in the Inner Circle would be interesting, and continue that storyline, because as long as those two guys are trading wins, you're
Mhm.
going to be able to like
It's not
build. It's not over ever. As long as they're trading wins, it's not over.
Yeah, I got you. I get you there. I mean, but I feel like Inner Circle just got that big win.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I feel
but
like
I'm not saying it has to happen right now. That maybe that's in
gotcha.
2 months.
Yeah.
Like
No,
that.
I
That
feel
match
like
doesn't have to
obviously
happen right away.
I agree. I think we all are in agreement that Pinnacle versus Inner Circle needs to be a feud that continues through the summer. Like Jericho
Yeah.
promised in his promo, his epic promo, right? He talked
The
about
Summer
that.
of Pain or
It's
something.
gonna be
like
the summer of pain, and you're gonna feel the wrath. It was great. He was going all in, and it was great stuff. So I feel like that's where this is going, guys. I think this is going to continue to stretch out. We talk about it every week. This feels like the Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa thing all over again in some ways, where it's like we see the writing on the wall. There's so much good content.
I know.
They just keep milking it. Just keep milking it. Just milk it, guys. Can we get a little Friday night milk it? Because if you don't milk it,
This is going to be a
you
Freddy
can't-
Got Fingered movie in a second.
You
If we keep
can't
it up.
stretch. You can't stretch the cheese out.
You can't.
stretch it out if
It
you
all
don't
depends
have
on the milk, right?
You gotta milk this feud.
And you can't change the landscape without some good milk.
The
Yeah,
best
you
way to
need
change the
milk for mac
landscape-
and cheese. You need milk for the landscape.
And
It's true.
Bonds, we know that my man Booking by Bonds loves some good mac and cheese.
I did a
So
whole
we'll-
segment in our text chat the other day about mac and cheese.
It was
It was
Booking
basically
by
a
Bonds.
booking.
Yeah,
You should take a screenshot
Box
of that
mac
text,
and
Bonds, and then tweet that with your screenshot of the text and the photo, so you can makes everyone's mouth
Everybody
salivate
get
about your.
contact.
You put over the Cheetos mac and cheese
Oh,
like it's
man,
no other.
dude.
But
Delicious.
we're about 5 minutes out from Dynamite. We're gonna end it just a few minutes early so y'all can get set up. We're gonna get refills. We're gonna get all situated. We're gonna be live tweeting as well. So interact with us
Nice
on.
Night of the Dark Order.
Yeah, this is a Dark Order Team Taz night. So we're gonna be live tweeting. So interact with us on Twitter.
Freaking
But
moron.
if you guys are
Give me
up,
your Taz, give me your Taz impression before we sign off, Bonds.
Hey, you morons! What are you gonna do over there? It's me, Team Taz. I got my boy Powerhouse Hobbs and Brian Cage over here. They're gonna knock all you guys out, you crazy mooks. I can't even understand what you guys are doing over there. All right, you go get him, Cage.
Don't you
Disrespecting me. You don't join up with Team Taz.
Jeez, that's great,
Put some
man.
respect on Team Taz's name. All right,
that is
SPD,
great.
go ahead.
Those
Go
guys.
ahead.
So I
Give
was
us the
gonna say,
countdown.
join us, talk with us on Twitter. Enjoy the awesome show. We'll be live again tomorrow, 9 a.m. live. Grab some coffee. Like I said, it's the weekend. Maybe throw a little Bailey's in that Dynamite Download coffee mug for you as well. But we will be live, and the show will be posted. A recap. We're going to talk all things
Delicious.
later on, and Bonds' article will most likely be posted later that day. So stay tuned on Twitter. But the one as we sign off, the big announcement. There's going to be a lot of stuff, a lot of segments, a lot of great matches. But Tony Khan said he's going to talk about the summer touring schedule, the Summer of Pain tonight on Dynamite too. So we're going to they announced the full AEW summer touring schedule as well as the dates for Fyter Fest and other upcoming special shows. So, gents, get that gas tank fueled up because it looks like we might be taking some road trips this summer. So I can't wait for that. Yes, like our new slogan, Dynamite Download, buckle up because we're on for a wild ride coming up, man. And I can't wait, guys. So thanks you guys for joining us for this pre-show. The landscape is changing. We got an awesome Dynamite ahead of us. A lot of things are at stake. And we will talk all things of Dynamite tomorrow morning, and our show will be posted. But yes, we're just let's just do a charade show.
Yeah, you got a middle.
And then a charade show. Get Mitch in there. Oh, and then the dance.
Yeah.
Who am I? Yeah. Oh gosh. We're starting to get a lot of. We're starting to get a lot of a lot of like hand motions that we can throw in when we go to see Dynamite live and all that. So
SPD, we got to take advantage of that really soon, man. The Friday night ones work really great for me because I do the 9 to 7 to 5 thing.
We'll figure it out. All right. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to sign off and get ready for the show. I don't want to keep that going because then we're going to
get in big trouble.
We're going to get we're going to get a slap on the wrist for that as well.
That's our new one. We got another one. Yeah.
Then you got to go, woo!
Woo! SPD loves those chops, doesn't he?
That's right. So I expect to see some good chops tonight. So that's it. Dynamite starts in about 2 minutes. So thank you guys for joining us. And we will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much.